So stay tuned to the end of the video. We're going to be giving away the 2 grams of Lunar. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Wednesday, the 29th of June, 2022, and we are joined now for the 111th consecutive weekly Knowledge Bolide Hangout, sponsored by Topherspin Meteorites. Today, we're focused on Witness Falls with a super cool little feature of hammer items, cars. So we're going to have that today. We're going to also stay tuned to the end of the video. We're going to be giving away the 2 grams of Lunar. And we have a video from our asteroid miner buddy, Maxime. Today's topic is Witness Falls. And with that, we're not going to deep dive into the science in our normal Meteorite 101. The whole hangout's going to be more of a history lesson of the falls. So I hope you guys enjoy that aspect. I'm going to start off with showing 2 recent Witness Falls. All right, the first one that I'm going to show off is Gatuto. This is a Kenyan fall witnessed on the 24th of April, and you can see the piece in there. I can take it out. Gatuto is a really crumbly meteorite. So the more you hold it, you're going to have little pieces of it on your fingers.
Oh, it's that friable.
Yeah, it's very friable.
Wow. It's got
look at
nice
that
crust
crust.
though, with great patina.
Let me see. There we go. Yeah, this is a super cool one. This is also a hammer stone because it fell onto a street. If you look on this corner right there, there's a really cool metal inclusion.
What was the class?
This is classified as an L6.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is an L6. Yeah. So that's the L6 with a total known weight of about 25 kilos. So that's about 2 years and 2 months old.
Nice.
Thank you. The next one is also a recent Witness fall. This is from Pakistan 2.5 years ago. This is Zhob. It's classified as an H3-4, so it's a breccia with a shock of 2 and a weathering of 0.
Nice.
And here is my sample.
I haven't seen too many fragments. Usually you see
Oh,
slices.
I love the texture of that crust. That's fabulous.
That's great. Nice.
Very nice. It's like matted. It's very, yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool.
I
Very,
love
very
this.
cool.
Yeah, I have a few slices in my inventory, but this is the only fragment that I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of an inclusion or some breccia going on in my piece right there. Some dual lithology.
Yeah, it's definitely breccia.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to find out what to do and how to get meteorites in the hands of collectors and scientists as soon as possible, well, that's what we're going to check in with Sue right now. She has a hot tip on a webpage for us to use.
Hey, you guys, I wanted to talk to you about in the event you see a fireball coming through the sky. So what should you do if you see something that you think is a meteor, flying across the sky at night or during the daytime or whenever? Don't just, talk to your friends about it or, make a mental note or post about it on Facebook. Go to the American Meteor Society webpage and report it there. So this website and this organization, they're nonprofit, and they are, their whole entire purpose is to record all of the reports that come in about fireball events. And they receive hundreds and hundreds of calls and tickets through their online tool every single year. And so think about that. There's probably a lot that don't get reported, but their job really is to, observe, monitor, collect data, study and report on meteors, Meteor showers, now take note that there's a distinction between meteors and meteor showers. You're not going to get meteors during the meteor shower. And then they also will take reports on any, fireballs and meteoritic phenomena, anything related to that. So I wanted to definitely put it out there that they do not deal in meteorites. So don't call them or send them emails asking them to identify your rocks. They don't deal with meteorites. They deal with what they are before they hit the ground. So this is kind of like a leaderboard per se of what the different calls that have come in from different countries, as you can see. And to get on the leaderboard or be featured like this, you have to have at least 30 phone calls in. Otherwise, they don't really consider it an event. I did think it was really interesting because I was looking through some of these dates, and obviously, if we're looking at the last 2 months, I'm sure a lot of us would be looking at a specific date. April 27th is what I went to immediately. And I was a little surprised to see only 73 calls in that day, 73 reports in that day, when there's other ones that have a lot more. So I am going to probably follow up on some of these later and see if there's actually meteorites classified based on these dates that have 500 and 700 reports, when Cranfield only had 73 reports, I think. So that was surprising. But if you can see, they don't have any other countries on the board today, and they have the 4 states pretty much right around Mississippi. So I thought that was really interesting because, these meteors are coming in so fast at thousands of miles an hour. And, so they're going to span over a few states probably when they come in. So this screen, and they have all sorts of different reports on there, but this screen shows all the phone calls or reports that they received. And I didn't know this, but Topher educated me earlier that if you zoom in, now this is just a screenshot, but if you go to the website and zoom in, all the little people there, they take the reports down and they put the symbols on the map in the direction that the person was, standing or looking at the sky when the meteor came in. So I thought that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, it actually draws a line from their point of view, so you can actually put their their collective responses and reports together a little bit better. And if you notice, some of the people are red, some of the people are green. That denotes what kind of caliber of reporter they are.
Or if they saw or heard an event, also those colors indicate if they heard a sonic boom associated with that or not.
So this is just I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but there are 2 lines on there. The white line has to do with weather patterns. The darker one shows the trajectory of the meteorite, the flight. And so a lot of those yellow spots, I think they're, inclement weather, but the red is where they actually found fragmentation, pieces of the meteor that flew in. And I believe that was, oh yes. And look what happens when you are a hunter, you get on the site. And I actually had meant to ask Roberto if he sent that picture or if someone else sent it in, because I thought when I looked at that site, we need a picture of Mike Kelly on there too. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to share. So make sure that you take a look at that site. They've done a really good job reporting on, all of the different fireball events. And definitely when you see something, say something.
If you see something, say something. Come on and party tonight.
Nice. Thank you, Sue. I want to put a little plug out there before I'm going to ask anyone's in the crew if they've been involved with or if they enjoyed that page. It sounds like Allison knows more about me already. Allison, what do you do on that webpage? What do you enjoy? Because if nothing, then I know what I want to say.
I do. I check for local events because I would like to be the next Roberto Vargas or Matt Stream who goes out and finds the most recent fall. So I do keep my eyes peeled for more local events. I don't like to travel a lot, but I also like to get on there and read what the people have said, whether they have heard something associated with the event or what if they just saw something, because it's interesting to me where they ask you a lot of questions in the report, where you were, how long you saw it, which direction you saw it come from, and I find all of that really interesting. So I check it pretty regularly and make a report when I see something.
Come on and party tonight.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I'll tell you how I use it. I love looking for where they have videos and captures of it. So there's a lot of Ring doorbells and dash cams and stuff, but it's cool when they're actually captured and there's video there, because I enjoy watching those events as well.
We've utilized it over the years to report fireballs. It's a nice site.
Good, thank you very much.
I thought it was interesting. I think I want to go back and look at February 15th, 2013, and see how many reports they got.
It would be worth looking, yeah.
Yeah. Before we get to that very important date in meteorite history, we're going to have a tiny bit of a history lesson before we get into the main Meteorite 101 history lesson with Mike Kelly and a little bit of show and tell. So, Mike, I'm going to kick it over to you in 1 second. For us.
Yeah, I wanted to share a couple falls. Some of them are going to be ones that I'm going to talk about in the 101 coming up here. The first one, though, is just one that I wanted to share with everybody, especially because I know we talk, pieces for new collectors. And this is a great fall with some great pieces in it. And it's Gao-Guenie. And so that's a 1960s fall. It was a March 5th fall. It's an H5 chondrite, so it's not incredibly rare, but there's a lot of it. And the thing that's nice about it is it's got a good percentage of oriented pieces in there. So I just wanted to show off these three.
Nice flow lines.
Yeah, especially the little guy in the back has really good flow lines. Let the camera focus on it. But the nice thing is the backs on all of these.
Oh,
roll
sweet,
over
sweet, sweet.
So this one has a very hard rollover lip.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And then the other two are also
Oh, geez.
nicely pieces. And so, yeah, these are not high dollar per gram meteorites. Gao has lots of small pieces. So for new collectors out there, these are a great witness fall with a lot of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Sure.
I'm so glad I let you show those, buddy, because those are beautiful. Thank you, man.
Nice.
And I really concur with you. It's a nice entry level witness fall.
A couple of the other pieces I'm going to talk about a little later. One of them is historic, and that's Hraschina. So the piece itself is not much to look at right in there, that tiny little bit of iron. But what I really wanted to show off and say thank you to one of the fellow crew members, Damian, is Damian made a couple of casts, and he provided me this one.
Sweet.
And I am really happy to have this because it goes with my tiny little piece, and it shows you just how magnificent the Hraschina iron was. And I'm probably not doing the name justice the way he can say it. But it's a really cool meteorite because there's only really two masses found. One of them was lost to history, and this large mass, which this is a scaled down cast of, is sitting in a museum, and it's basically one of those phenomenal pieces that show you what a oriented iron meteorite really looks like, and it's barely been cut. So there's really not much out there, and this mass is really well preserved.
Wow, very nice.
Last thing I wanted to show off in the little show and tell section is a guessing game. So can someone name the two meteorites that are known to have been seen falling from an aircraft?
From an aircraft. Wow.
Wow.
From an
I know of only one, and that's because Maxine put it in his video. So I'm
So
not
you're,
gonna
if
play.
you're not guessing, this might help some other people, maybe a little bit.
Anyone?
Is that Chelyabinsk?
No.
No,
No.
not Chelyabinsk.
Think a lot more.
Viñales?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, yep. So that's the first one. So that's Viñales, Cuba from 2019. It's an L6. And this was actually photographed by Cruz Maria Ruiz on flight 923 going from Orlando to Costa Rica as they were going past Cuba.
Wow.
Happened to take a picture out of the plane window and caught the boloid in action.
Cool.
Any guesses on the
Nice.
other one?
Amazing.
This is a poor representation of the other one. Very high metal, very unique looking.
I don't even have a clue on this one.
Me neither.
Portales Valley.
Whoa.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, Portales
Wow.
Valley was actually witnessed by someone from an aircraft, and they later went and found a piece. The other cool thing about Portales Valley, which was a, let me get this right, it was recovered. A lot of it was recovered by Skip Watson, who was a very influential and very, very, very successful Western collector. And it fell within a half a mile of his house. Can you imagine being so into meteorites? And
Skip
you
Wilson
hear,
was just the
yep,
ultimate.
there's lots of references to airplanes in the Met Bowl, but it's usually because people are comparing the boloids to the sound of aircrafts or aircraft crashing. But yeah, there is no even mention of scene from an aircraft in the Met Bowl. So I thought that would be a fun little mini fact that you guys would enjoy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Didn't know that one. Thank you, man.
Cool, so
Thank,
cool.
yeah. Thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate that and the cool stories. We couldn't have a show with Witness Falls without putting at least some time aside for one of my favorites. And Sue, I'm going to kick it over to you to describe these stones that we're going to look at. Okay, so.
I think Chelyabinsk is really interesting because if you don't know a lot about meteorites, you still are pretty familiar with Chelyabinsk. And here we have it's a heat shield Chely. It's oriented with a hard rollover lip on it. And look
Ooh.
at all of that
Nice.
beautiful, sexy, fresh cracked fusion crust. Yeah.
Contraction, cracks, and everything.
That is a great piece though, isn't it?
Wait.
It really is.
Amazing.
Frothy surface texture on the reverse too.
Wow.
Yeah, all the Chelyabinks you're going to be seeing today are from my personal collection.
Wow.
Nice one.
Mhm.
Beautiful crust. Just stand
Mhm.
out.
I want that other 20%. Where is it?
Yeah.
Close that
But Chelyabinsk was the most powerful meteorite to hit the Earth since Tunguska in 1908.
Nice slice.
And we get two slices here.
Nice.
These are impact melts.
Mhm.
I think we're going to leave these ones in the case.
Yeah.
One of these is kind of brecciated with some pebbles in it. And then the other one is like, it's a really good transition piece, kind of showing, between a normal, Chely and what an impact melt is.
Very cool.
But we're not going to get to the next one until you tell me you can see the rivers of melt.
Rivers of melt, your favorite phrase.
All right. Now, this one is what you were expecting, babe.
That's why I was asking. I couldn't tell which one. Yeah, that's the one that's polished.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
That's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many of these do you really see, like with Chelyabinsk? I mean, that's just
Wow.
it's kind of unusual, very unusual.
That's a neat texture.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting to me about Chelyabinsk is exactly what was just pointed out. The texture of that one on the outside versus this one. This is a non-impact melt. And this is an impact melt.
Wow.
So you can see it
Mhm.
really changes the stone. On the inside, it gets completely melted. This one's in a partial melt stage versus look at the interior.
Yeah.
So
Pretty wild.
the stone really goes through a massive change. And that's so I encourage everyone in your Chelyabinsk collection to add some impact melt as well.
Mhm.
Sweet.
We are now checking in with a video submission from our very own Maxime.
The asteroid miner.
Yes, the asteroid miner. So Maxime has done a couple videos for us, and today he's talking about his Witness Falls. So Maxime, take it away, buddy.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing good. Today I would like to show you some of the witnessed falls I have in my collection. So not so long ago I decided I should get more witnessed falls, and for this purpose I decided to try to get as much specimen as I could from recent witnessed falls. Those are less expensive than the old ones, and to get specimens that are at least 5 grams. So today I will show you 2 of these, and I will also show you some smaller specimens I have that I find quite interesting. So let's go. The first one is the 17 grams Viñales I got from Sue and Topher. Viñales fell in Cuba on the 1st of February 2019. The fall was filmed by many cameras and there are even some videos of the shockwave. Also, I found quite cool that this meteorite fall was photographed from a plane, which is quite unique.
That's the one.
Oh my goodness.
This is a partially crusted fragment that shows some beautiful flow lines, so it is quite unusual for Viñales. Also, we can clearly see its interior with nice shock vein visible all around the specimen.
Wow.
Nice.
That's very nice.
Goodness, that's pretty.
Oh, flow line.
The next one is Zag, an H36 breccia that fell in Western Sahara on the 4th or 5th of August 1998. Now, Zag is quite interesting because it was shown to contain some purple to blue halite crystals, along with bubbles of salty fluids. This made Zag a very interesting study subject and extensive analyses were made on it. It was shown that Zag's halite crystals also contain organic compounds, showing high similarities with Tagish Lake, but also with the primitive carbonaceous CMCI-like composition of 1 Ceres as measured by the Dawn spacecraft. For more information on this, I really suggest you to read the meteoritestudies.com page for Zag. I had a look at this slice under my microscope and it was probably one of the most interesting meteorites to look at. I was unfortunately unable to find any halite crystal as they were probably dissolved in water during the cut. But in any case, this remains a beautiful slice. Look at that.
Nice.
Very nice.
Incredible.
Last one for today, but not least, I was lucky to acquire this crusted full slice of Almahata Sitta MS249 stone. This stone was classified as an EL6 enstatite chondrite. Almahata Sitta is one of my favorites because of its incredible backstory. On October 6, 2008, a small asteroid called 2008 TC3 is discovered. Trajectory calculations showed that it was actually on a collision course with Earth. The following day, on October 7, 2008, the small asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere above the Nubian Desert in Sudan. Expeditions were then organized to find back as much fragments as possible. What is unique with Almahata Sitta is that each find was numbered and classified separately, leading to the observation that 2008 TC3 was actually a congregation of many types of meteorites, from Uralites to CB chondrites. Everything about this meteorite is surprising, making it a truly unique witnessed fall. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a great hangout, and see you very soon.
Thank you, Maxime.
Thanks, Maxime.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're
And I
really
want-
fortunate to have members on our team like Maxime who can make a really nice presentation, educational video for us, and I really appreciate that. Now is the time on the show where we usually deep dive into some science, but we're going to do a little bit more of a history of Witness Falls with Meteorite 101 and Mike Kelly. Mike, are you with us? Are you ready?
Yes, I am. This is the cover slide. Some interesting things to point on here. You're going to hear about two of these meteorites later. The bottom right-hand corner is Ensisheim from France, and the upper left-hand corner is Pasamonte. And if you look at that Pasamonte shot, it's a really weird-looking shot of the boloid. What you're actually catching is the lead fragment passing through the sound barrier and creating a moisture cloud as it drives all the moisture out of the air, the same way a jet does when it breaks the sound barrier. You get that cone-shaped cloud around the object breaking the sound barrier. So what's interesting about that one is that's the first photographed meteorite ever of a boloid. And it was just a lucky shot. And it not only was it a lucky shot, he got it right as it was transitioning through the sound barrier.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy, my man.
So some interesting facts if you're looking through the Met Bowl about falls. Falls used to, prior to 2015, just say Y in the fall column, and that meant it was a fall. And if it didn't have a Y in there and was blank, it was not a fall. After 2015, they were getting a lot more reports, and there was not necessarily great data to support everything. So they kind of came up with the spectrum of falls. So nowadays, what you'll see is a Y with a superscripted C. If it's 100% confirmed fall, you'll see a Y with a superscripted P if it's very, very, very likely to be a fall and it's enough that they consider it. And you see, I kind of put a red cut line there. So YCs and YPs and Ys are all falls in the Met Bowl. Then if the body of proof is a little less, you'll get an NP in that column nowadays. And that means it's a fine, but it's possibly a fall. It was very fresh and recent. And then you'll get an ND every once in a while, which is not really a fall. And if there's no chance at all, it was looking like it's got fall characteristics to it as far as its freshness, then it's just still blank.
That's awesome. Everyone take a screen grab of that. Next time you're in the Met Bowl, you're going to need it.
Which is if you go through the Met Bowl, the falls by the numbers, out of, something like 76,000 meteorites that are in the Met Bowl, only 1,363 as of making this over the weekend are recorded falls. So again, that's the Y, the YC, or the YPs. And out of that 1,363, there's a lot of old stuff in there from ancient historical times, and those are actually doubtful to actually even be meteorites. But that's your kind of meteorite history old items in there. You'll get things that are just oddball things from Greek history, way before BCE type stuff. So if you look at the other numbers I got down here, it's broken down by types, and I didn't do it down to the subtype level, but this shows you kind of a lot of the groupings and how rare some of the things are, like Acapulcoites, named after Acapulco, and that's the only fall. I know someone's going to be showing off, I think, some Tiglet coming up here, which is one of 10 Albrights. There's not that many falls of that. So there's a lot of different meteorites listed here. I won't cover them all. This is just if someone wants to grab a screen grab of it or look at it later on the YouTube. This shows you a breakdown of kind of high level groupings.
I love this slide.
Yep, and you can see things like the ordinary chondrites. We call them ordinary chondrites because they're prevalent, and there's lots of them. You can see H's. There's 389 of those throughout all the different H subgroups. So yeah, there's a lot of meteorites out there. And the other thing to highlight on there, lunars, 0. Yeah, we're still waiting for our first confirmed lunar fall.
Oh man, sign
Well,
me up.
Topher has his work cut out for him because I told him I want him to get a lunar fall classified in my name, and he said it might be kind of difficult.
You need Skip Watson level luck, Topher. Skip Watson level.
Yeah.
So some interesting falls, and what I kind of did was these are noteworthy ones. So Nagata in Japan, that is the oldest thing listed in the Met Bowl as being a confirmed fall in 861.
Jesus.
So that's pretty old. You got Ensisheim, which was in France. Again, I mentioned that on the cover. You saw it was an old woodcut type block, medieval looking illustration there. And that was, validated fall number 3 in the Met Bowl. And what's really neat about that one is it was a very observed fall. Lots of people heard the detonation like they were talking about with Cranfield being over multiple states. So again, the sound effects are far reaching, but it was actually witnessed by a boy in a field. And a lot was recovered in basically, one very large mass of 127 kilograms. The king, Maximilian I, visited it and said, "You shall preserve it in the local church and it will remain there forever." And forever so far it has remained. It's still there. So we talked about the Ensisheim show a couple weeks ago, and you can go visit it there at the show. Next kind of really big historic one on the list was Wold Cottage. That's a December 1795 fall. And what's interesting about that is it helped further the idea that meteorites do fall to Earth. We had recovered a couple of meteorites. There were some reports on it, but most of those reports were from peasants and what were considered, the lay people of the time, the more uneducated. So a lot of the aristocracy and the scientific community at the time did not believe that meteorites came from the sky. over in England, that helped out on the European side to prove that it did. And a little bit later in 1807 in Weston, Connecticut, the US had its first fall. And that helped the scientists on our side of the pond to come to the realization that, yes, meteorites do indeed fall from the sky.
I had to borrow your picture for this one.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's a print of Hraschina. Legal was a French fall in 1803. So speaking about meteorites falling from the sky and disbelief that they come from space, Lego was very important because it fell into a town, not in some farm field witnessed by one child. You know, it landed in town and it was witnessed by a lot of officials and people of authority in France. And so no longer was it, disbelievable that meteorites fell from the sky because credible people had witnessed it. So that added to the body of science very well. So that's a very historic and very coveted meteorite there. We talked Hraschina a little bit and showed a picture of it. The main thing that I didn't mention yet about Hraschina was one Count Alan von Beck Widmanstatten. He did a piece of that meteorite after it was found and noticed the interesting pattern of figures that developed from there, which to this day bear his name. And that meteorite is the first that brought us Widmanstatten pattern.
That's super cool.
Maxime touched on Almahata Sitta, so I'll breeze over that one again. First time we saw one come blazing in and found it in space before it hit. And then these are some interesting firsts. So in 1803, Massing was the first achondrite that ever fell, and it happened to be a Howardite out of the HED clan. Shortly after, you had Saturn fall, which brought us our first eucrite. That was 1808. And then you had your first diagonite fall in Manganan in India in 1843. The Martians first came about with Chelyabinsk, which fell in 1815. And then in Borneo, Spain, you had the first, Borneo, Spain, 1842, you had the first Mesosiderite join the classification schematic. Pasamonte, we talked about that being the first photographed boloid. Sue touched on Sikot-Alin a little bit, I believe. Chelyabinsk, touched on Chelyabinsk. Sikot-Alin was the most massive fall to date. We'll get to Chelyabinsk here in a minute. Elias, interesting enough, in 1803 was the first carbonaceous fall, even though it doesn't have a meteorite group named after it.
Crazy.
Murchison, we've discussed in detail in other shows. Again, that was a massive amount of carbonaceous available that was super fresh to the scientific community in 1969. So it was opened up a lot of study and research. Also, in the same year, you had Allende, which did for the CV3s what Murchison did for the CMs, and provided a lot of fresh material. And then we get to the largest by size, which is the kind of last thing I want to touch on. So Sikot-Alin was the biggest of all. Jilin, which is an ordinary chondrite, is your largest chondrite fall. You got Allende, obviously CV3, which is a very large fall. Kenya and Undrich is another ordinary chondrite. Norton County is markable because it's a U.S. fall and it's the largest albrite. And finally, Chelyabinsk, which is the one that Sue was talking about, which is 2013, which was probably the most impactful boloid in modern times, with the amount of video that it was recorded on, and also the amount of people it impacted from blowing out windows and causing minor injuries and hospitalizations.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate every weekly report you give. It's fantastic information, man. Really.
Very nice. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
I
Mike.
enjoy it. And hopefully it motivates you to go buy some new pieces.
Yeah, man. We are switching gears to a little bit of show and tell, going north of the border with Smiley. Smiley, how are you, bud?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Topher?
Fantastic, man.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Oh, Smiley, I love the backdrop.
Well, thank you.
Very fitting.
Thank you very much. I have Smiley Cam set up here too. So what I wanted to do was This is my Buzzard Coulee specimen, and this specimen holds a special place in my collection. This was actually my very first meteorite that I purchased from Topher
Yay.
and Sue, and it's a combined weight of 151 grams. What I really like with this is, so this is a H4 with an S2 shock and weathering of W0. What's neat about this fall that fell back in November 20th, 2008, around 5:30 p.m. is about this time up in Canada, around Saskatchewan. It's quite dark in the evenings. I ended up digging up a thesis paper that was done up by Ellen Miley from the University of Calgary, where with this particular fall, because it was witnessed on security cameras, it cast shadows on those security cameras. So with the triangulation of the shadows, in her thesis, she was actually able to do the pre-orbital determination of this near-Earth Apollo orbit. So I thought that was pretty cool, because that was the first instance where I had seen the use of modern technology through the casting of shadows of a meteorite to determine a pre-orbit. So this particular meteorite, yeah, it holds a special place because obviously it's Canadian, and I'm big into Canadian meteorites, but it's cool too, just because of the fact that, again, the amount of video, the video capturing of the event, the sheer volume of the number of people that saw it, because again, it happened around supper time. So they heard the explosion and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a very, very cool meteorite to have in your collection for sure.
Oh, sweet.
Very nice.
That's an especially gorgeous piece of it too. Congratulations on making that your
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Nice end cuts.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you happen to know what the size of the main mass is for Buzzard Coulee?
I believe it was, if I'm looking here, I'm just looking at the Met Bowl here. It was around 13 kilograms, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
I could be horribly wrong, but that's what I'm seeing from the Met Bowl here.
Okay.
124.
Well, Jeff, I'm super glad that you're enjoying that meteorite. I'm really thankful that you bought it, because it had to go to a true collector who would appreciate keeping both halves together. You know, I don't tell my clients what to do with their meteorites, but man, it's so nice to see a collector who keeps two halves together like this of a nice fall.
This is another one I sleep under my pillow with. I have a lumpy pillow at home, by the way.
Nice.
That is awesome. Well, I have a few pictures, really super high def pictures of those Buzzard Coulees. And then Carl is going to take us through a special subset of collecting hammer falls. So let me switch over. I didn't know if the show and tell would be dramatic live, but I put a few pictures together just so everyone can really see how beautiful that meteorite is.
That's a really, really nice slice. And no, it's
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent example.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it just
Nice
Carl,
catch.
I'm gonna stick you up a little bit right now and put you on the spot to take us through your little presentation.
okay. Topher Beneld. On the morning of September 29th, 1938, near the small town of Beneld, Illinois, Mrs. Ed McCain was visiting outside with her nearest neighbor, Mrs. Carl Crum, when their conversation was disturbed by a loud whistling roar overhead, followed by a not too distant sound of splintering wood. A while later, Mr. Ed McCain was heading out on errands when he discovered the hole in his garage roof, the hole in the car roof and seat cushion, as well as a hole in the car's floor and a dented muffler. He found the meteorite lying on the cushion next to the hole in the seat. The meteorite was investigated and identified by Mr. Ben Wilson and Mr. Pierce Hill, who presented this stone to the Field Museum in Chicago. Before they gave it to the museum, they took the time to use survey equipment to accurately determine the azimuth and the inclination of this meteorite's path, based on measurements of the point where it entered the garage roof and where it punctured the seat cushion. This is the first time that a meteorite had been measured in this way accurately in the history of meteorites. Based on the damage to the vehicle's roof, seat, and muffler, it was determined that the meteorite had punctured through the car, then ricocheted off the muffler, back through the hole in the seat, and landed on the seat. Benelli is an H6 chondrite. My cutting fragments seen to the left have Field Museum provenance. And now skipping ahead now to St. Louis, on December the 10th, 1950, a Mr. John Hauser was driving his sedan from St. Louis to his home in Maplewood Park, which was just southeast of the city. While he was cruising along the 5,000 block of West Florissant Avenue, he suddenly was startled by a very loud bang. At first, he thought it was a blowout. When he was able to come to a stop at the side of the very busy road about a block later, he was flabbergasted to see a hole in the roof and found 2 broken stone fragments on the floor in the back seat. It was very sobering to Mr. Hauser to note that it had just narrowly missed his head by only 2 feet. Lucky guy. He did not realize the possibility of it being a meteorite until he read the news about it in the newspaper reporting a meteor exploding over the city. It was identified as a stony meteorite by the Associate Professor of Geology, A.F. Fredrickson at Washington University of St. Louis. I would have to say that the odds of a meteorite hitting a moving target on the ground is truly astronomical. St. Louis is an H4 chondrite. My fragment has Field Museum provenance. Move on to many years later in Peekskill, New York. On Friday night, the 9th of October in 1992, 17-year-old Michelle Knapp of Peekskill was watching TV when she heard a loud bang outside. When she went out to investigate, she saw that her 1980 Chevy Malibu had a hole smashed right through the trunk, and she found a 26-pound rock embedded in the cement underneath. She called the police to report that someone had vandalized her car. Her neighbor, who had also come outside at the same time, deduced that no human being could possibly have thrown a rock with such force, and that it must have dropped from the sky. The next day, someone from the American Museum of Natural History in New York came out and determined that this rock was a piece of a meteor that had traveled over the East Coast as a fireball, which had been witnessed by at least 16 different video cameras while people were filming Friday night football games and other events. This was one of the first fireballs captured in this way. Knapp then retrieved the meteorite, after which it was sold to a group of 3 dealers for $50,000. Miss Knapp just bought the car for $300. Immediately after the meteorite's impact, her car was sold to Iris Lang, which was the wife of renowned fossil and meteorite collector Al Lang, for $25,000. Ever since then, this car has been on display in numerous museums throughout the world, including New York's American Museum of Natural History and France's National Museum of Natural History. This car and the current main mass are now in the Makovich collection of meteorites. Peekskill is an H6 chondrite. My piece was purchased from Al Lang. And lastly, 5 years after this fall, on the morning of September 1st in 1997, many individuals in South Central Michigan reported a daylight meteor. Many more of them reported loud sounds that resembled sonic booms or thunder. One eyewitness even reported a brilliant burning in the sky as bright as any arc welder, which lasted approximately 10 seconds. A Mr. Dwayne Foster of Northeast Washtenaw County in Michigan near Warden was working out in his backyard with his sons. They heard a sound just like distant thunder. A few moments later, they heard a whistling sound that passed overhead, followed by a boom and a loud crash. Thinking that a car had left the road in front of the house, they ran quickly up the hill to the side yard opposite of their garage. Instead of seeing a car, they entered the garage. They didn't see any car, so they entered the garage and they found it full of plaster dust and pieces of drywall and insulation. They then noticed that the roof of the son's car had been dented and there was a slice or a hole in the ceiling over the driver's seat. Then they saw the rock and 2 chips on the ground near the car. It was not warm when it was picked up, only a few moments after hearing the noise of impact. Warden is an L5 chondrite, and my piece was purchased from New England Medical Services from Russ Kempton. In closing, I would just like to point out a couple of cool coincidences here. Both Benelli, the first one, and this one, the last one, fell through garage roofs before they hit the car. And both Peekskill and Warden hit red cars. Kind of interesting coincidences. These are all single stone falls, by the way. 1 stone, 1 car.
We do have another hammerstone that we want to show off. So, Greg, can you talk about your collection for us, please?
This is called Park Forest. This was one of the first meteorites to have fallen in a heavily populated suburban area of Chicago on March 26, 2003. And total known weight is 18 kilograms or 40 pounds. And then this is the strewn field here where the largest stones were found. And what's interesting about my specimen, one thing that really grabs me about this is that the documentation, the specimen was hid in front of 177 Winslow Street, the home of Dale and Diana Costco. Isn't that cool? So I have a 3.6 gram specimen, measures 25 by 20 by 3. So the
Nice.
documentation is the most critical thing. I mean, you know exactly which house it hit, who the residents were that lived there at the time. That is so cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's some really good provenance.
Really like that. That's nice.
and I bought that from Steve Arnold, one of the Meteorite men.
So thank you, Greg. I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Yeah.
I think Park Forest also went through a house.
Also
It
hit
went through
cars.
houses,
Yeah.
windows,
Cars,
hit
windshield.
cars. It's a definite hammerstone. It hit a lot of things.
Yeah. So in my collection, I actually have part of the house and a little display that was made up. So yeah, very cool to have hammerstones and very cool to feature some that hit cars. So thank you, Carl and Greg. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Sure.
no kidding.
Yeah.
I really, I love a good fall story. Thank you, boys.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We have another update on hammerstones that hit cars. Let me go to Mike
go up.
Kelly. Mike,
And
where are
the
you?
specimen's not too much to look at, but this is Barwell, and this is an English piece. And this also was a decent sized fall, and one of those pieces hit a car. And what was really cool about this one was it fell on Christmas Eve in 1965.
Wow.
I was
So
2
it's-
years old.
Yep. So this is one of the car hitters besides the great ones that Carl showed, and I just wanted to say there are others out there too. I know Smiley's up in Canada. You have Grimsby was up in Canada, and that one you see every once in a while on the market. It's pretty rare. And then there are also 4 other ones that you really don't ever see / can't get, and that's Louisville, Orlando, and then 2 in Japan, Komoki and Nigari. Are also all falls that hit cars. So if you're a car hitting collector, those are like the holy grails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple Japanese ones, but not those two.
Yeah, those ones you just don't see. So that's all I wanted to add. Is it's amazing how many have actually hit
Thank you.
cars.
Thank you so much, Mike, for the history on that one too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Very nice.
I have one that's not historic, but it's beautiful. This is Benenitra. This is one of only 2 fall or meteorites ever from Madagascar. So this one fell, and you're only going to get witness falls basically. They're so moist. But this is from 2018, and this is my personal camp.
That's really nice. Wow.
Very nice.
Boy,
Love the crust.
A nice piece.
Another keeper.
Oh, yeah.
Another really interesting crust.
Just a little window inside.
Mhm.
But this side is just fully regmaglyphed.
Wow, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Almost looks like it's dripping.
Yeah, it's tortured looking. It's cool.
So that has to talk a little bit to an oriented flight, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like
Yeah, but this is a fun one to collect because if you're going for Madagascar, there's only 2 to pick from, and that's one of them right there.
wow. Oh, that's sweet.
Cool.
Well, we asked the crew to help us out on a project to do a video glossary for meteorite terms. The goal was to get as many as we could. I'm super happy to say the project is ongoing. We have 80 completed videos. We have another 10 that are in the works. And my goal was to have 100. The list grew to 123. So I'll be working on those. But one of the things we asked from our crew was to help us with these videos. And for that, we were going to collect points and give them points for everything they did on the video submissions. So you receive points whether you were able to do a voiceover only if you are only able to type out the description, have someone else read it. If you submitted pictures, if you submitted a fully edited video. So here is the complete list of points that were given out. And that is 220 points. This is the lunar that we're giving away. It is NWA 14685. It's 2.2 grams of fragmental lunar breccia.
Nice.
And let's see.
Beautiful piece.
Let's see who's getting it. What I did is I got the points and I gave them to everyone. I put their name on a list as many times as points they earned. Then I randomized that list. So we have 220 names here in random order. So it's going to be a double random pick. Number 93.
Who could it be?
Number 93 is Pat Brown, Professor Pat Brown, and he has donated this piece, this winner, to someone who helped him on a few of his video submissions. So this will be donated to Marissa for Pat.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Yay. All right.
Super glad you guys won that. We'll get it out to the mail. It's right here. So
nice.
Out to you. And thanks everyone.
Good on you, man.
Yeah, good job, everyone. Good job, Marissa, though, and Pat. Congratulations.
Yeah, Topher and I were saying, what other group would be able to get this many videos together with our strict requirements on them? You guys were awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It's going to be a wealth of information for people to enjoy. So really appreciate that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another weekly hangout. I really appreciate all your help. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
later.
Bye.
Thanks, Bye.
Bye.
Either way, it tells a story of that meteorite's journey and entry into our world. So
Nice.
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I learned a little something extra about Chelyabinsk today when I was just researching it, watching different videos, and there was another impact the same day. I'm not sure if you guys remember that or not, but a lot of people thought that they were related, and it took a few years for them to do the research and find out that they weren't related. And the researcher that figured it out, they run an association called Comprehensive Band Treaty Organization. They basically monitor nuclear explosions through infrasound signals, and these signals can only be heard by elephants and humming pigeons and things like that, but they had completely different frequencies, and they were able to figure that out with the sound waves. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah, super interesting. Had no idea.
And that wave is when it's approaching or right before impact or what?
Yeah, and they can tell how long that the meteor's been in the air. They can see what direction it traveled, and then it also, when they analyze the data, they can tell how much energy it expended. Expended. I'm not sure how to say that, but they can find out all that, and they also are able to do more research into, I guess, the crystals that are in it that are made up of uranium and lead. And then they can tell how much, because the uranium turns into lead after, I don't know, a certain million number of years. And so they're able to tell if that piece of Chely had been on an asteroid that was already impacted twice before. And when asteroids get impacted more than just the one time, they make a lot smaller pieces, and that obviously creates a higher risk for meteors hitting the Earth. And so this research actually really helps us figure out, be able to predict how many meteors are going to come and impact us.
Wow.
So I'm not the most scientific person, so I definitely say go out to some of these sites and check them out yourselves.
Wow, I'm super impressed.
That is awesome.
It was
I
interesting.
love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice.
I hate when I read all these things and then I sound like a valley girl, like telling you guys, like totally. It's really cool.
Mike Kelly noted in the comments that having a known orbit makes it one of 40 with known orbits.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, what's also interesting at the time of this particular fall, there was only 12 known. This would have been the 12th known orbital meteorite.
Is the
So it is
Reykjavik collection on display anywhere?
I'm not sure now. I know that online it was for a while. In New York City, I thought, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I've seen pieces of that one from Al Lang, because Al Lang used to exhibit every year at
Yeah.
the Tucson show there. at
Now
the
my pieces
Westward-
are all small fragments of the actual hammerstones. I mean, they're not huge, but just to have them, I thought was pretty cool.
Well, we do have another hammerstone.
I was going to say, Pat mentioned in the chat that one of the cars is on display still in a museum in Chicago.
That might be that might be the Peak School one.
Yeah, that's the Malibu.
Okay.
In Chicago, that field museum, that's the Benald. That's the one that went through the garage roof into.
Yeah,
that-
they have a nice exhibit in the museum about the whole fall.
Oh, big time. Because like I say, I was originally from Chicago, and just seeing that as a little kid
Yeah.
sparked my interest like tenfold into meteorites. I mean, I could talk probably for hours.
If you, go
like
back, if
everybody
you,
else.
Topher,
That's awesome.
if you go back to my first slide of Beneld, I think there might be a little, but I think there was a tiny bit of fusion crust on a couple pieces. It's kind of hard to see in a picture down near the lower. It was they were cutting fragments, so yeah.